Hello and welcome to 5 ways to feel more confident about your body right now. I am Johnna Renée and I am super excited that you are here with me. What I want to do to begin with is just let you know, full disclosure, I'm doing something a little bit different. Doing something a little bit different. So, can I try something new for y'all? And what that is, I usually am very structured. I have like my notes and like my exact agenda. But what I've learned recently and what I spoke about in a video that I made earlier this week is one of the things that I'm trying and committing to doing this year is less and not more. And I've observed that when I am less structured, it creates and allows more space for magic and organicness and authenticity. Not that I'm not being authentic, but instead of trying to make sure that like I read the script, I'm more just let's see what comes up in the moment. And so I'm going to be trying that out with you, and that's why I hold up these notes, which is what I'm going to be using instead of my usual structure. So if you see me looking down, that is why. Also, it's a little stormy here, so if you hear noise, that's what that is. And also, my little dog is in the room, so if you hear him coughing, he has a collapsed trachea, that's what that is. He's also kind of panty right now, maybe because of the storm. But anyway, enough about that. I want to first start by saying thank you for being here. I know that time is our most valuable resource, and so I appreciate you spending yours here with me now. And for you being here live, I'm going to go ahead and put the link to the workbook with notes from this presentation in the chat so that you have that, because I'm not going to be one of those like stay to the end. Like, I want to make sure that you have it. So you've got that there. And also, I mean, we are all familiar with Zoom. And so, there's no secret that, we need to be doing like keep your microphone muted. This is recorded. So, make sure that, you are comfortable being on screen or you keep your camera off. Like, I think we all know that. So make sure that you do take care of yourself and do what you need to do throughout this presentation. Also, if you were here from Eventbrite, hi, how are you? In order for you to receive other notifications from me, I'm going to be sending you a link in your recap so that you can sign on to do that if you would like to. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So I want to give you an idea of what to expect with our time together today. So we're going to be able to walk away having learned some evidence-based tools for feeling more confident, having some fun, and to feel better at the end of our time together than you do right now. And that brings us to our first evidence-based component. So what I want you to do right here and now is just kind of do a body scan, like, take a moment to pause and check in. Like, I know we're oftentimes running through our day. And so I just want you to take a minute and check in with yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 and give yourself a number for how you feel right here and now. So 1 would be like, I feel like shit. 10 would be, couldn't possibly feel better. So you can pop it in the chat if you want, or you can, just jot it down. You can make a mental note, whatever it is that you want to do. But just establish that baseline here and now before we go ahead and dive in, because I want to make sure that you know what that is, so that after we go through everything we talk about here together, at the end, we're going to check in again so you can see if there's been any change. So make sure that you do that. I'll go ahead and say I'm at like a 9. Full transparency, I'm at like a 9. Whoops, excuse me. Because I mean, it could be better, but like not much, like this is great. Better would be like kind of like a cherry on top, but I always like to leave, not always, but there's usually like a little room like that we like to allow. And so yeah, I would say a solid 9. So that's mine. Like I said, if you want to put it in the chat, totally welcome to do that as well, or just make a mental note. So with that being said, I don't want to spend too much time on this part, but if you are brand new to me, then, also I'm aware of the fact that like, I don't want to be like, hey, stranger danger, like who is she? And so I did just want to take a minute to touch on who I am. So I am an evidence-based certified life coach. I have over 10,000 hours that have been coached by me, either in a group capacity, in person, virtually, one-on-one. And that is a number that still blows my mind, but is really cool and a testament to like, I mean, I've been doing this for a hot minute and it's cool. It's been very rewarding. I'm in my late 30s. I'm a fitness lover. I'm a food eater. And I put reformed flounderer, because that is how I explain what it was like for me whenever I was trying to figure out who I was and just like going through the motions, like it wasn't like anything really felt awesome. Sometimes they felt really shitty. Sometimes they felt better than others, but I was just kind of floundering through life, you know, thinking this is just what it is. Like, I guess this is it. And kind of hoping for the best, like kind of aimlessly. So that's what I use that's what I mean when I say floundering or flounderer. Um, Also, as you know, I said that I have a little furry child, so I am a dog mom. Self-diagnosed ADHD. This is just bonus facts. And also, if you know anything or if you were into astrology, my Mercury, which is your planet of communication, is ruled by Mars. So I am a very direct person. I'm also an open book. So in the spirit of that, I want to go ahead and jump into why we are here, because we are here for you, not me. And I don't want this to be one of those presentations like I've been on where it feels like, you are being sold a timeshare kind of a thing. So let's go ahead and talk about you now. So how do you feel more confident, right? This is the main event. This is what we're all here for. And I told you that I'm going to be telling you 5 things. So take it from the top. Number 1, first way to feel more confident is to move. Movement is the quickest way to show your body that you are in control. And it is a lot easier to move your way into a new way of thinking, a new state, if you will, than it is to think your way into moving or to think your way into feeling like you're in a different state. So what I mean by that is if I am feeling some kind of way, maybe I'm sad and I am just thinking about, positive thoughts like, well, let me, if you hear that noise, that's my little dog. So maybe I am trying to think myself into feeling better, like telling myself positive affirmations and, thinking happy thoughts about my dog or something like that. So I'm going to have to likely spend a lot of energy and effort trying to think my way into feeling happier than it would be for me, that I would expend if I were to just go and do something. If I were to just go and pick up the phone and call a friend. If I were to just go for a walk. If I were to just, put on some music, which we'll talk about later. But it's going to take a lot more effort for me and energy for me to try to think about doing those things than it would for me to actually go and do them. So that's what I mean by moving. And it's easier to just do the thing than it is to try to like think yourself into doing it. And so when I say movement, like what does that mean, right? So anything from breath work and yoga to running, dance, weightlifting, walking, whatever it is, I put just those as examples, but whatever movement feels like to you, movement is evidence that you can make change happen, right? And so whenever you are actually physically moving, that is tangible. That is evidence of your ability. And so that then therefore is going to help you build more inner trust in your ability to do the things if you are feeling like you have like low confidence. And so research from Amy Cuddy on power posing has shown that holding specific poses for 2 minutes can improve your confidence. People self-reported that their confidence levels did improve whenever they were going into these power poses and holding them for 2 minutes. So, that's pretty magical when you think about it, right? Like if you just hold a position for 2 minutes, then your confidence will improve. Like whether that is, 1 point or whether that is multiple points, it's something where that's a cool thing, right? And so if it is a situation where, you're looking to be in that space where you have improved confidence, then it's awesome whenever you are just able to do these power poses And this is where I feel more confident. Hello, welcome. How are you? So,
Cool.
it's just the two of us right now, but if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Feel free to pop on camera. I went ahead and got started with what I'm talking about in terms of how to feel confident. And so the first thing that we're talking about is movement. So perfect timing here. So movement, quickest way to show your body that you are in control. And I spoke about how you can do, whatever movement feels true to you, because in doing so, it's easier to move your way into a new way of thinking in a new state than it is for you to try to, think your way into that new state or doing the thing. And so research from Amy Cuddy has shown that power posing and holding specific poses for 2 minutes can improve confidence. And so we are going to now look at what those power poses are. So the first power pose, we're going to be going over 3 of them, is Wonder Woman. And so in this pose, we have a photo of Wonder Woman because, she is badass. And the way that you hold this pose is you plant your feet firmly on the ground, about shoulder distance apart, hands on your hips, lift your chest to the sky. I also like to call this one the Beyonce because I feel like she stands like that a lot. And so, she's power posing. Maybe that's one of her secrets. Um, the other pose that I wanted to talk about today is the CEO. This is the best photo that I could find for that. But when you think about a CEO or a president of a company, you think about, oftentimes like they're like the boss. And so this is kind of like a boss pose where you have like your hands behind your head and like you're sitting there and your feet are on the desk and you're just kicking back, like enjoying the fact that like, hey, like you run this. The last pose that I want to talk about is the victor pose. And so this is something where even when people are blind and have never actually seen anyone do a power pose, studies have shown that they actually, will hold their hands in like the victor pose, even if like they haven't seen anyone do it. And it's a way of showing that, they won, like they were successful, like it was a victory. And so the victor is that exact pose. If you've ever seen it, I have a photo here. So plant your feet firmly on the ground, again, about shoulder width apart. And this time you're going to raise your arms overhead, the shape of a V, reach up for the sky with your fingertips and lift your chest as if you have just won whatever it is that your goal is. Like maybe you won the day, but whatever it is that you have done, then it is an opportunity for you to hold that position and just kind of embody those feelings, right? And so this has been shown, like I said, to help you improve your confidence. And so to test this, if we want to, then what we can do is we can go ahead and actually try these poses or just pick one of them. And so whether that be the Superwoman, aka the Beyonce, the CEO, or the victor, then I have a timer on the next page. So we're going to hold it for 2 minutes and just see how it feels. And to see if this works for us, what I want you to do. So we took a baseline of, how you're feeling right now, scale of 1 to 10. 1 is worst you've ever felt. 10 is couldn't feel any better, like best day ever. So kind of give yourself a rating right now. Just check in, how are you feeling? What would you rate yourself? I had said earlier, I'm, like a 9, like I feel pretty good, but that doesn't mean it can't be better. Like there's, I always like to leave like a little room. And so the pose that I want to try for this in the next 2 minutes while we hold this is going to be the Beyonce or the Superwoman. I keep calling it the Beyonce, but I put the Superwoman, but that's what's more commonly called is the Superwoman. So with that being said, you don't have to come on camera, but we're going to hold the pose for 2 minutes just to see how it feels. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and do it too. So I'm going to stand up here and we're going to be going in now. So holding the Beyonce or whatever pose it is. So thinking about standing proud, hands on your hips if you're doing the Superwoman, okay, Beyonce. Like to think about, whatever it is that you want to accomplish, whatever would make you feel confident, instead of thinking, when this thing happens, think as if it already has. And think about what it would be like to be in that position. And to help us, I even went ahead and put a little quote up here that is actually the chorus of the song. If that helps you as a mantra to kind of get into the feelings. And so I'm healthy, I am wealthy, I am rich, I am that bitch. I'm going to get that bag. I'm not going to take your shit. I am protected, well respected. I'm a queen. I'm a dream. I do what I want to do, and I'm who I want to be because I am me. So if that helps you, you can kind of recite that. If you know the song, you can sing along. But we've got about a minute left. And so again, just thinking about feeling what it feels like to be that confident version of yourself. And so that might be described by some of the language used in this song lyric. It might not, but whatever it is for you, again, just thinking about that. Maybe you close your eyes. I don't mean to talk the whole way through it, but just want to give you a little bit of guidance in case you've never done this, so that you can use that if it helps. But we've got about 15 seconds left, so I'm just going to let us enjoy it, do with that time what you need. All right, 2 minutes are up. So now, since we took that baseline, how are we feeling? Same scale of 1 to 10. How are you feeling now? Did it work? Like I said earlier, I was like about a 10, or excuse me, about a 9. And so, it does just make me feel like a little different. It adds like a little oomph to it. And so, again, you can put it in the chat. You don't have to, but just do another self check-in. Like, did that do anything for you? Because oftentimes, like I find personally, it does. If that pose didn't work, it might be something where you want to try another one. There also have been suggestions in some of, like Amy Cuddy, like she did a TED talk on it, where if you are having a job interview or any type of like a stressful experience, then holding one of these positions a few minutes, 2 minutes before that experience can actually like help ease some of the anxiety around it. So if that helps, awesome. Next up, let's talk about the second way to feel more confident right now, and that is to channel your inner Beyonce. I mean, if you could not tell, I love me some Beyonce. So with that, it doesn't have to be Beyonce, right? Like whoever it is that inspires you. This works because it acts as a buffer between who it is that you are as your authentic self, in terms of, well, if I act like my true self and like who I am, and like someone rejects me, then that is taking us back to like primal fears, and they're actually rejecting me, right? Like that's painful, that's uncomfortable, that's awkward. And so in that case, it's something where that is a lot scarier than if you are channeling your inner whomever inspires you. Because if other people then reject you, then it's like, well, I wasn't actually being myself anyway, right? Like it kind of serves as a buffer in that way. And this isn't to make you like inauthentic, but this is to give you the support that you might need, that can serve you, so that you can start to learn more about who it is that you are, so that you can start to try on these different characteristics, so that you can have like a little shield, if you will, while still being yourself. Like you're still the one doing it, but at the same time, like you're acting as if there's like a little bit of extra flair in that. And so if you were like, well, that sounds weird, I just have a few names here of celebrities that do the same thing. So Stephanie, I hope I don't like mess up her name here, but Germanota is Lady Gaga. I don't have no idea how to say Cardi B's name, but she also operates under a different name. And Beyonce herself channeled her inner Sasha Fierce. And so, this is something where, these aren't the only people that have stage names, so to speak. And oftentimes it serves us to have our own stage name, whether it be just on the daily or in our jobs, or whenever we go to the gym or whatever it might be for you, where it serves to kind of adopt that other role. The third thing that we have here is to talk to yourself like your BFF would. So most of us have said some mean things about ourselves to ourselves. And it's oftentimes something where, we have been saying those things for so long that we haven't, taken the time to pause and say, wait a minute, that's some really mean shit. Like, why am I saying that to myself? And so these things that we say to ourselves end up playing like an old sitcom that we just like run in the background because, it's just kind of noise, right? Like we know it's there and it's at the same time not something that we really are present to anymore just because like we're so familiar with it. And so in that case, one of the things that happens whenever we are continuing to, just say these negative things that we've always said, then, this isn't to shame or blame, but this is just to bring this to your awareness. It's often something where we, adopt those as our truths, right? Like our internal narrative becomes like our limiting beliefs. And so that can be really detrimental to your confidence, your self-esteem, your sense of self-worth, because no one has ever taken the time to say like, hey, maybe let's not do this, but it's okay because you're here and so we're having this conversation now. And so one of the things that you can do to flip this situation, if you do start to become aware of the fact that hey, like I might be saying some mean things to myself, like it's okay, don't blame yourself, but awareness is the first step to any kind of change. And so start to become aware specifically of what those things are. Once you have done that, for every mean thing, I want you to think of 3 nice things that your BFF would say to you instead, right? Because some of the things we say to ourselves, like we would never say to our BFF. In fact, like there's a video, I can send it in the replay notes if you want. There's a video on YouTube where it shows, I don't remember the company that did it, but I feel like maybe it was Vice actually that did it. And so there were 2 women and they had written down everything that they say to themselves and they read it to their best friend. And it was so sad. Like they started crying and they were like, I would never. And so it was a really touching video. So think of the things and then think of 3 nice things that your BFF would say, because the reason this works is because research from Dr. Barbara Fredrickson in the field of positive psychology has shown that it suggested we need an average of 3 positive experiences to counterbalance a negative one. And so for every mean thing that there is in your head, to like say like, oh, like you can't do that, or I can't do that, let's say, if that's something that you notice that you tell yourself often, then think of 3 things that are evidence that you can do this thing, right? Like you can do hard things and they can be related. They don't have to be related, but find that evidence that proves otherwise. And so one of the things that you can do as well, whenever you are doing this, if you're like, well, that kind of seems like, how to keep up with that, just keep a running list in your phone. So just make a note of like all the negative things that you say, all the mean things that you say, if you will, and then 3 positives to say like about that thing. And so that way you can keep like a running tally, if you will, and you'll have your go-to for when those mean thoughts pop up. And before you know it, they will start to be fewer and fewer, and the positive thoughts will be more and more, because what you are doing in this is programming your reticular activating system, which is the part of your brain that acts as a filter, because we are bombarded with so many thoughts each day. 60 to 80,000 is like what the new research has said. And so with that, your reticular activating system is the part of your brain that filters out what to pay attention to. And so whatever you program it with, basically, so this is why kind of like law of attraction demystified actually is what's happening here, is what I'm talking about. But whenever you tell your reticular activating system, your RAS, hey, pay attention to the good stuff, right? Like the nice things, like the evidence that I can do the stuff, then you're programming it to start to pay more attention to those things. and less attention to the other things, the mean negative things. So that is that for number 3. For number 4, get curious about what your body can do instead of being focused on how it does or doesn't look. Now, I love all 5 of these things that I'm sharing with you, all 5 of these tips and these evidence-based tools, but this one was the one that really rocked my world. And this was the one that really served as a catalyst for a lot of the change that I experienced with my own, body dysmorphia and insecurities and low confidence. So when we try to attain goals without working on, what we've got, like without working with what we've got, which is called strengths-based learning or coaching, or depending on what the medium is there. But when you are trying to do things that don't work with your already existing strengths, then it's going to create resistance. And when you are in that resistance, then you're in a constant state of chase. And so one of the ways that I like to think of this, or explain it rather, is when we are, or to give you my personal example, when I was, concerned about my body, I always wanted to try to make it look a certain way, right? Like I tried diets, I tried not eating, I, experienced disordered eating, I would try to work out. And no matter what I did, it wouldn't work. It never worked. And so it was like the reason that I was going to the gym, the reason that I was like changing my diet, the reason I was doing all these things was because I wanted to look a certain way. But it never happened until I was like, you know what? I guess it just is what it is. Like, I'm going to look this way. Like, I'm not going to be able to look like that. And I gave up in a sense. And from there, that created the space for me to find a type of movement that I actually enjoyed, which wasn't something that I did to make my body look a certain way, but I did it because I was, curious about what my body could do. And so my intention shifted, right? From like trying to like force myself into this box, like into this like vision of what I thought I quote unquote should or shouldn't look like. And I started to just get curious about like what was possible. Like what can I do? Like not how does it look, but what can it do? Meaning my body. And I fell in love with the process. And I allowed whatever was going to happen to happen. And, it didn't necessarily look like what I thought that it would. But at the same time, I didn't want it to anymore. Right. Like I didn't care. Like I was just enjoying the process. And as a byproduct, my body started to change. And I became so comfortable with how I looked. And it was something that was really freeing for me. And so when you are trying to take on this tool, one of the ways that I suggest to do it, that you can take action, is to make a list about all the things that you're curious about what your body can do. Maybe that's wondering how far you can walk without stopping, or how strong you can get in a certain lift. Whatever that tallest mountain is for you, I put here, what's the tallest mountain you can climb? That's whatever your mountain is. And, we're talking about body confidence here, but this can also be related to confidence in general. How much money can you make? How successful can you be? Like, what are these things that you can do? What is possible, instead of trying to like put a limit on it. And so whatever it is that you are curious about, ooh, excuse me, whatever it is that you are curious about in that way is what can really help you to lean into feeling more confident in who it is that you are. And so once you have, thought about what are these things that you would like to learn more about, then it's time to start to explore. It's time to start to, look and see what it might be like to get into those things and to figure out the answers and to fall in love with that process. Of course, if you are talking about movement, then make sure that you speak with your doctor, get their clearance and approval, that you're all good to go in that sense. So that is number 5, or excuse me, number 4. And for number 5, I mentioned we're going to come back to this later. So that is going to be music. So music is an invitation for your body and soul to vibe. That is a me quote, not necessarily anyone else quote, but music works because research has shown that it can reduce cortisol levels, it can improve your heart rate, as well as boost immunity and promote social bonding. And if you think about it, music is something that, all cultures have. It's really something that is done in different types of rituals. People have different songs that story tell. And so music is really this really awesome tool that we have that, oftentimes, like, we all have a Spotify or an Apple or an iTunes or the radio. And at the same time, it's something that, I know personally, until I started thinking about like how impactful and powerful it could be, I didn't actually, respect it for the impact it could have. And so um, it's something that I like to bring to everyone if they are looking to boost their confidence, because it is a really valuable and easy and inexpensive tool that we all have at our disposal. And who might argue with science? So the take action item on here is to make a playlist. And so I have a screenshot of one of my favorite playlists I made. And so I'll be including that in the workbook whenever I send that with the replay. If you're interested, warning explicit lyrics. There's also I started running recently. And so I made it says hot girl, but for the woman, so hot girl, woman run playlist. And so I can include that as well. And if you're interested in the research behind what I have here about how music can, have those awesome benefits, then that is in Psychology Today, and I will also be linked in your workbook. So those are your 5 items to help you to boost your confidence right now. So movement, whatever type of movement feels good. We specifically spoke about power poses and held those for 2 minutes. You can also channel your inner Beyonce or whomever inspires you for number 2. Number 3, talk to yourself like your BFF would, so be kind to yourself. Number 4 is to get curious about what's possible. And then number 5 is to put on a bomb-ass playlist. And so those are the 5 things. I also promised that we would talk about gym confidence. And so I want to touch on 3 things here that will support with your gym confidence. We can talk about more, we can talk about custom things here, but the 3 that I have that I feel will give you the biggest impact are going with a plan, avoid peak hours, and track your progress. So going with the plan means, know what workouts you're going to do, know what movement you're going to do and how to perform them, and what weights you are, comfortable with. If you're still all figuring that out, cool. Then, I suggest, depending on where you are, you can, if you are going to plan and it's a place you've never been, ask the front desk to tell you whenever you're going in, like, hey, I'm going to be doing this, that, and the other, like, what's the best place for that? You can Google some videos on YouTube that show proper movement and, start to stick with those until you get comfortable and confident with them. And for weight, I always say to go lighter before you start to go heavier, which sounds obvious, but I know sometimes you can get in the gym and it's like, that person's doing that much, well, I should be able to do that much. And that's not always necessarily true. It is better to do lighter weight with proper foundational movements and form than it is to do too much and hurt yourself. So first thing, go in with a plan, like a well, comprehensive plan. This even includes also like knowing what to wear, what you're comfortable in, thinking about like the movements and, if you're going to be comfortable doing those in whatever your outfit is for the gym. The second tip is to avoid peak hours. So this is something where whenever you are going to any new place, or if you just don't like, other people around when you work out, then avoiding peak hours can be key. I made a post about this on Instagram, and this was actually what, like, several people were like, that's my favorite tip. And so I feel you. Also, this is going to make sure that, you will increase your odds of having access to the equipment that you need in your plan, which is another thing that you might want to consider whenever you're going to plan, is making sure that you have a backup plan if the equipment that you have in your plan is being used. That might look like just going to the next thing and coming back. That might look like doing something else altogether, but just kind of having that in mind. One of the ways that you can know when the peak hours are, because that can often be like, how am I supposed to know? Like if you just moved or if you're trying out a new gym, then you can either ask the front desk, like, hey, when's it usually not busy? Or what I like to do is go to Google the place, and you know how they have a little graph that shows you when most people are there, like when it's the most busy, it's usually not that busy. So you can actually see about how busy that place is on the little graph on Google. So I actually have been doing that for the place that I just joined. The third thing that you can do for gym confidence is to track your progress. And there are tons of apps out there that can support you with this. If you were tracking your times, let's say on certain workouts or your runs, or if you are tracking your weights. So you got a lot of options there. Or we have been using a 1 to 10 scale. You can also just do that. Like, how confident did I feel going into the gym today on a scale of 1 to 10? How good did I feel after I left? You know, um, how comfortable I am like having done these movements. And so those are, just some different things that you can track. You can obviously track whatever it is that supports you, but that should give you an idea of where to start when it comes to being more confident in the gym and knowing what it looks like to go on to plan, how to avoid the peak hours, and what to do to track your progress. So with that all being said, we are now at our Q&A. So let me know what questions you have. You can pop them in the chat. You can come on camera, or you can just unmute yourself. Like that is cool too. But yeah, any questions that you have, I'll be here. Since there's only 2 of us on here, just let me know. If you don't have questions, that's cool too. You can let me know that as well. Otherwise, I will just hang out and wait for a few seconds in case there is anything that you want to ask. Oh, the peak hours. Okay, perfect. So thank you. Great question. To explain peak hours, back over when to avoid those. So peak hours meaning like when a lot of people are going to be at the gym. So if someone, or if people aren't oftentimes comfortable or confident in the gym, then they usually want to avoid, when a lot of people are going to be there. And so you have some, hours that most of us know, like right before people need to be at work. So, you traditionally would think like 7 to 8 it would be busy, like 6 to 8 it would be busy, start to like clear out because people had to be at work at 9. But now, since a lot of people have transitioned to working from home, that's not necessarily the case, is what I've found. And so it really just depends on your location and like the place that you decide to go. So yeah, if that's something that you don't want to be around a lot of people when you're working out, then one of the ways to feel more confident in that way is just avoid the peak hours. And so usually, like the mornings, like traditionally, or like early, like right around like the evening, like the 5 time. Yeah, of course. I clarified a lot there, but yeah. So like I said, I like to just Google the place, like YMCA, whichever one it is. Like I've been going to, yeah. And I like to watch the little graph because it changes not only from times but from days, which you may know. So I apologize if that's redundant, but yeah, like I like to look at like what day it's going to be so I can see, oh, there's like no one there at this time. Well, let me go then. But then also, I mentioned asking the front desk because like Sunday, I went and it said usually not very busy, and I was like, there's a ton of people here. But the front desk, whenever I made a comment, they were like, oh, like there's a lot of people here. They were like, yeah, I think it's because of the new year. So there's also that to take into consideration. But yeah, of course, you're welcome for clarifying. I hope that helped. Do you have any other questions? Okay, cool. Well, that is all I have. Um, we're a little early on time because, oh yeah, go ahead. If you hear panting, that was my little dog, if that's your question. Staring at me. Yes, the part where I mentioned the BFF. Mm, yeah, it can be difficult. So I'm assuming there's more. Or do you just want clarity on how to make it less difficult? Okay, perfect. So when it comes to making it less, so okay, to just say it aloud, because we're gonna be sending out the replay. When you are talking to yourself like your best friend would, like your BFF would, then like yes, like we all know like it's a good thing to do. Yes, exactly, like less negative self-talk. But it's hard. So let's talk first about why it's so hard. And then we'll talk about some ways to, start to make it a little easier. And so the reason that it is so hard is because 95 to 98% of everything we do is just on autopilot, right? It's our subconscious, because our brain knows that regardless of whether or not this is what we want, right? Like, regardless of whether or not we want to talk to ourselves positively or negatively, we've always done the negative. And so our brain looks for shortcuts, and it knows that, like, even though we say mean things to ourselves, that we can survive that we have lived to see another day, and that like life has gone on. So like consciously we know, like, I want to say nice things to myself, not mean things. Our brains that are like, well, we're just doing our job keeping you safe, that's one less thing that we have to think about because it's work to make these changes, right? So knowing that, your brain's like, we're just going to keep on doing it because like you're okay, like you're fine, is basically what's happening. And so when you are in the space of trying to think more positively, what oftentimes happens is people just do like the exact opposite, right? Like if I feel like a lazy piece of shit, then I'm just going to tell myself the opposite. I am, this energetic, like awesome, like productive, get her done kind of a person. And in that case, like that's great, right? Like we know what we want to be, like we're flipping the script, like I see what you're doing. But also in that case, it's often that the gap is too wide, right? And so we can't make that large of a jump yet. We can't quite yet make that step. And so instead of trying to tell yourself the exact opposite, because your subconscious is smart, your brain is smart, it's going to be like, but we have all this other evidence saying otherwise. So do you remember yesterday, like when you didn't do anything and like you laid on the couch and like whatever? We remember that. And so instead of trying to just, like in the first part, like think your way into a new state, tell yourself like, well, I am this other thing. Like that's great. We love the intention. At the same time, the gap is too large. And so what you can do instead is to start smaller. So instead of going from I'm a lazy piece of shit, no, I'm not, I'm awesome, productive, and you're superhuman, you can try to say something like, I'm working on being more productive, right? And so that's true. Like you can be working to be more productive. It's easier for you to understand, and it's easier for you to see evidence of that, because then you can start to think, okay, what were some things that I did today in order to be more productive? Well, I made a to-do list. Granted, of course, like your brain might be like, well, but you only did like one of those things, but you made the list and you're trying. And so like you are trying to be a more productive person in that way. And so when you start to, again, like I mentioned, the reticular activating system, when you start to say like, hey, I am doing things, and tell yourself like there are things, that I'm doing, here they are, then your brain's going to be like, you know what, that is true, like you're right, like you did make a list and you did do some of them, so that's true. And then you always want to be right, so our brains always want to be right. We're then going to look for more things to help affirm that, and so that way you're not jumping from lazy to superhuman, but you're going from lazy, I'm just using that as an example, you're going from lazy to, but I'm trying, here's what I'm doing to try. I did these things, and look, now that I've done these things, I am helping to show myself that I can trust myself to do what I say I'm going to do, which is going to improve my confidence and inspire me to do more things. And it's going to motivate you in that way. And so you're going to start to, before you know it, move your way towards like, oh, hey, wow, like I am a super productive superhuman, right? Like it's going to be a more gradual type of um, an ascent than it is just like a big jump. Did that make sense? Or was that helpful? Okay, cool. Perfect. If you want, I don't know if you're open to this, but you can, put into the chat whatever it is that, or what one of the things are that you say to yourself, and we can kind of workshop it and see if we can think of, a smaller step if you want, but you don't definitely don't have to. I just use lazy piece of shit because I am a procrastinator, and so it's near and dear to my heart. Okay, cool. Well, with that being said, if there are no other questions, oh no, go ahead, go ahead. Grab a sip of water. This is fun. I'm totally fine. No need to apologize. Take up all the space. The space is yours. You're the only one that showed up, so the space is yours. And let me send you this again because I don't know if you got it since here. So that link is where I'm going to post the workbook that has the additional notes. So the Hot Woman Girl Run playlist, the what I mentioned about the video where the two best friends talk to each other. And also I will include notes about what we talked about with your questions. And so I'll have to update it because there's a space for me to update it because like right now there's just a placeholder kind of, I mean, the workbook is there, but I wanted to update it with what we talked about for everyone on this call, which is just us. So yeah, check it tomorrow when you get the link to replay. And then it will be updated. So, okay, I'm going to read this aloud. So, what's crazy is I'm well aware of right and wrong. Yes. I'm very aware of how negative talk hurts me as an individual. Most importantly, I do not give a shit. We love the swears. What people think of me, love. And it is me and me alone. Like I'm having my battles myself alone and putting these high standards for myself. I know how to be kind to myself, and I should be. I've come such a long way, and giving myself a pat is something I just wish I could do more often. So, okay. When you are trying to, so it looks like what I'm getting from this, and tell me if I'm wrong or right, is I feel like what I'm getting from this, like I'm Miss Cleo. I'm not Miss Cleo, but what I'm feeling is that there seems to be some resistance about accepting like the fact that you are deserving is what that reads as to me. Like you said, like you know that you should be kinder, you know that you have to be kinder, you feel like you've come a long way, um, and you have high standards and you don't care what other people think, but at the same time, there's still this negative talk that is really hurtful to you. And so when we oftentimes are in like that kind of a place, and like I said, tell me if I'm wrong, it's because on some level we feel that you know maybe we aren't deserving of whatever it is that like these goals that we set for ourselves. And so what might be a good practice for you when it comes to that is to make a list. I'm all about the list, but of all of your accomplishments and like all the reasons why you are worthy of these things, right? Like you're a good person, you're a hard worker, you know that you deserve better, and you have these high standards and you know that you deserve to accomplish them because what I had mentioned earlier about our subconscious, it's oftentimes that we have these beliefs that come from oftentimes our childhood, and childhood trauma is like a whole another thing that we can talk about. But it's often that we have these beliefs about ourselves and these stories that hold us back. And it's not that those are our stories. It's that, these are things that someone told us that we just never, thought to think any differently. And it's not until years later that we are in a position where it's like, well, wait a minute, that story isn't mine. Okay, hold on. We've got more info. No, I'm not seeing myself as that. I'm not deserving, but I'm holding myself of what I should look like. And yes, those are beliefs. Ultimately, beliefs are just things you keep telling yourself over and over again. Yes. Okay, so my bad. So it's not that you are not seeing yourself as deserving, but you're holding yourself. So okay, so the shoulds. Okay, this is very helpful. Thank you. So there is something that I like to call, or I do call, the toxicity of should and shouldn't, right? Like all of these things that, exactly like you said, and same thing that I was saying earlier about like limited beliefs, and that, yeah, you said that, beliefs are things you keep telling yourself over and over again. And so when you are doing this is something I have my clients do, is to think about all of the things that you think you should and shouldn't be, do, say, think, and have. And so that way because I mean, most of us like don't ever do this, but when you write it out, when you see it on paper, you are literally looking at it from a different point of view. So it's no longer, just this kind of like ambiguous, like, well, I feel like I should, but that doesn't really feel like, true to me or authentic or whatever verbiage you want to use. But it's something that you're literally now looking at on like a piece of paper, and you're like, oh, wow, damn, that's not true. Where did that come from? And why do I think that? And so sometimes that practice in and of itself is enough to just give you the perspective, like the literal, like I'm looking at it now instead of thinking about it perspective, where it's like, oh, well, I don't have to think that anymore. Like I wasn't even aware of the fact that I did think that, right? So kind of like taking it back to the BFFs, and like it's like, or the mean things that we say to ourselves. It's like a sitcom that's just kind of playing in the background. Like it's just something that we've always done. And so whenever you see it, it offers you a vantage point where you are now able to like look at the forest instead of the tree. And so what I mean by that is like we're so often like fixated on like the tree, like we're staring at the thing, we're like, I know that, like you said, like there are these like shoulds and shouldn'ts, but like that's not what I want. But like, why can't I get over it, or why can't I get past it? Rather. And so whenever you write it down, like it's no longer, like I said, like this thing that you're fixated on, but it's this, it opens up, it goes from the macro, or the micro rather, to the macro. So you're now able to look at the bigger picture and like, oh, I didn't realize that like that's what I thought, or that that's where it came from. And so, yeah, oftentimes that can help you to, if you hear that noise, that is also thunder. We have a lot of noises going on here today. But yeah, so it's something where, yeah, that in and of itself can like help. Okay, cool, good. I'm glad, because it's loud that you can't hear anything. So what's funny too is everyone else is mesmerized by me and inspired by me above, that they think also that I'm beautiful inside and out. Again, but again, I don't care what they think. I just wish I could see myself as that as well. Oh, well, why don't you? It's a heavy question. But what about that is silly? Like this, I think so. Like giving you like all the homework. But this is great. Like this is why we're here. So when we are thinking about this, the other homework, the other thing could be to think about like how you would describe you to a stranger. Like if you were like omnipotent, like I'm stepping outside of myself, I'm gonna write like a description about me. Like what are the things that you would say to like describe yourself? Like how do you see yourself? because like you said, like you wish that you could see yourself in that way. And so the first thing that we need to do is, we know the goal, like you want to see yourself in this way, but how is it that you do see yourself? Because you mentioned that people are mesmerized by mesmerized. Oh wow, mesmerized by you, that they're inspired, and they think that you're beautiful inside and out, but you don't see that. So a lot of like awesome things coming from like what others see of you, but then one, I'm silly when it comes to like, why don't you see yourself that way? Like, what are the things, or like, what is the way that you see yourself? And so whenever we have, we know the goal, like I said, you wish that you saw yourself as all these awesome things that people said about you, which is beautiful, by the way. Thank you for sharing that. It's important to know like where, like how you see yourself. So that's why I was like, how would you describe yourself? And when you have the contrast, you can let it serve you and say like, okay, so like what's different here? And like, why are these the things that I see and the way that I feel versus like what other people say and think? Like, what can we do to bridge that gap, right? Like, what's that baby step? So again, not just like, well, I am these things necessarily, but like, what can you do to increase your own confidence and inner trust in yourself to start to get closer to acknowledging and recognizing and accepting, like, yeah, I am those things. You had said, and sometimes I do see myself as positively, or excuse me, sometimes I do see myself positively. However, most often it's not as positive. So, yeah. So that's awesome that you see yourself as positive sometimes, because that means that, you're in the practice of it, right? Like it's there, like, it. And at the same time, however, old you are, however many years old you are, you've been telling yourself that other thing too for just as long. And so this new version of yourself, this, positive part that you want to see yourself as, likely, came in like a bit later after we already had the initial feelings of however it is that you see yourself, installed. We had this other operating system that like came in as like an upgrade, right? And so they're both there. And it goes back to the should. I am holding back. I think it goes back to should quotation marks. I did a whole ass podcast on this, by the way, like the shoulds. I am holding myself back at a certain place and I need to be a certain age and have achieved certain things. Okay, yes. So that sounds like that could be some societal things, some, personal, from like what those close to you have to say. Then again, I'm like, stop it. Everyone is on their own journey. Yes. So it sounds like there's a contradiction happening. I mean, you just said it doesn't sound like that. You just said there's a contradiction happening there. Um, every day. Yes. Yes. So I wonder if it's like you said, like we have spoken about, when it comes to, you know that you're deserving, and that yes, everyone is on your own journey, and at the same time there's the should. And so it's a matter of, yeah, like reframing that. So remember, whenever I mentioned that for every negative thought we need three positive ones to kind of counterbalance it. So it's something where it's going to take time, but those are steps that you can take to not, jump from one to the other, but to start to bridge that gap and start to, reduce the contrast between how you see yourself and how everyone else sees you as well. Because if you want you yourself to see yourself how everyone else does, then yeah, like what needs to happen in between there to make that happen? Because yeah, we are all on our own journeys. And for the record, this is not easy stuff. Like, anyone that says just say some affirmations and make a vision board is not telling the whole story. Those are tools that can support, but um yeah, it's something where like that's not just it. Like there's so much more. um Thank you. I like that you call it contrast. The speaker I listen to, Abraham, calls it, Esther Hicks is who you listen to, then I'm assuming, calls it that too. Yep. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Contrast is a powerful thing. And so Yeah. It's important to know both sides, right? Like not only the goal and like what you want, but also like where are you? And I think that that's something that a lot of people skip over in a lot of different places, right? Um, I like to think of it as like you wouldn't, you know, call an airline and be like, hey, I want to go to LA. Click, right? Like you're not going to get a ticket. Like you need to know like where you're at, like you need to know what to pack, you need to know how you're going to get there. So like all these different factors go into what you need specifically. Oh, and by the way, like we might experience a flight delay. Like you might need to bring some snacks, like we might have a layover. And so all these different things happen. And so it's important to have as much information and data as you can about where you are so that you can be as prepared as possible on your way to get wherever it is that you want to be. And the contrast, yes, serves us in doing just that by giving us a really important look at, what does need to happen in between there. So lots of homework. So first of all, you were very welcome. So making that list of the things that you feel that you should and shouldn't be, do, say, think, and have, just to, like I said, give you that vantage point, like, you know, what is it that, you are thinking, so that you can look at the forest and not the trees. And then also maybe writing how it is that you see yourself. Um, and also you mentioned several things about how others see you, but maybe even elaborating on that a little bit more so that you can really like take a step back and don't just like, I suggest my professional opinion here. Um, don't just like do this all in one go or when you're rushed. I would give it time to marinate. So when you make your lists, I would, okay, like they feel good. Like here's my shoulds. Maybe don't even do them on the same day. Like maybe you do your shoulds one day and this is how I see myself and this is how others see me on another day. But like give it space, give it air to breathe. Like don't necessarily approach it as a project. Did you not hear that thunder? It like anyway, it's getting intense over here. Okay, thank you. So now you did, right? I was like, I feel like that was loud. I was like, first of all, I'm a goddamn speaker over here if you're not hearing that. I'm in North Carolina. Yeah, I was about to have to figure out what's going on with my speaker because that was loud. I'm surprised you can't see the flashes, but the windows are closed. Oh, cool. South Carolina. What part? We'll be neighbors. Well, like North and South, the Carolinas. Charleston. Charleston's nice. I like Charleston a lot. I was I'm wanting to so one of my commitments for this year. So I did a video earlier this week about 5 things that I'm doing differently this year. And one of them is setting myself up for small wins, not just like the BHAGs, like the big, hairy, audacious goals. And so one of my small wins is to do a 5K a quarter because I hate running. No offense if you're a runner, but um, I was like, I can do that, right? Like I could go run a 5K if you wanted me to now. I would not be happy with it. I'm not doing it now in the rain, but I could like tomorrow. um, yeah, F running. Yeah, no, it's same, so much same. My thighs chafe, like I can't breathe, like I look like a Clydesdale horse when I run. But yeah, I was like 5K, like I can do it. This will help with my cardio, like fine. And so anyway, that's all to say that I'm doing it with someone as accountability buddy. And I suggested Savannah. Well, that's in Georgia, but they had suggested Charleston as well for one of the runs. And so I was like, shit, why not? Why not do both? Why not do both? Because yeah, one a quarter. We have a couple more to pick out. So anyway, that was a lot about that. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, so you came from Eventbrite. So send me if you want your Instagram or your TikTok or your email or whatever's easiest. And I will email you the replay. And yeah, we can stay in touch. I'm Hey Johnna Renée, which is on like one of the next slides. But yeah, that would be awesome. Where are you moving from, if I may ask? There it goes again. I moved from LA to Missouri for 3 years for school. Okay, cool. LA like California or LA like Louisiana? Now they're graduating and getting the hell out. Yeah. I don't know much about Missouri, um, to be honest. Oh, Long Beach, Huntington Beach. Yeah, okay, that's quite different. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think that I would be missing much in Missouri, so thank you for confirming. It wasn't on my visitation list, but so I'm from like rural North Carolina, like Winston-Salem is what makes the most sense to claim. And I lived in Miami for 10 years and wasn't a culture shock to move there, but moving back, let me tell you, I was like, oh, this is different. Um, the movers were very confused. They got out with my stuff and they were like, oh, it's a lot of green. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. Just please put the boxes there. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I wasn't like being rude about it, but I was just kind of like, I get it. Like, I get it, dude. It is very different. Um, but yeah, yeah, it is a lot of green. But that part's nice. We like the nature part of it because Miami was very flat. And not there's anything wrong with that. Love the palm trees, but also it was just kind of like one season, which was hot. Um, but I like the heat, but just like 10 years of it, like, damn. So now there are seasons. However, when it was 3 degrees, three, like, how cold does it get in Missouri? Because 3 degrees, I wasn't ready. I was like looking at my phone. I was like, what does that mean? Oh, it snowed. One of my clients is like hoping for snow. And I'm like, I mean, woman, I'm hoping for it for you, but I'm also hoping it don't last long. Like, let's talk about like a little white dusting and go outside, take some photos, and then like it melts because otherwise it's just kind of messy. I think personally, it looks nice in photos, but yeah, the last time it snowed here, my dog didn't pee for 3 days. I mean, I like it, but a month is okay as opposed to 3 or 4. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad that congratulations, because you said that you're moving to Charleston for a job. So congratulations on that, first of all. Yes, you are welcome. Yeah, that is awesome. Cool. Nursing. Okay, cool. Yeah. And Charleston, like I said, is beautiful. And so I don't know if you've ever been, but it's nice. It's very nice. I hope you like it. Um, and yeah, if you are ever in the area in the North Carolina, if we end up going to Charleston, as well as Savannah, because yeah, like I said, we have 4 5Ks, and we have a couple more to like find locations for, because we're doing the first one in February, which if you like sprints, so I don't know if I'm like the Jehovah's Witness of the Nike Run Club app at this point. Um, but it's a free app, it's awesome, and they have sprints on it that are like guided. So your coach will tell you, hey, in 5 4 3 2 1, like we're gonna, do whatever. And like it's so good. And if you run outside or if you run on the treadmill, like it tracks your elevation if you're outside and your pace and all that stuff. And anyway, it has some really awesome sprint workouts and like interval workouts. And so, yeah, I am like such a fan of this app, and it's actually making it enjoyable because I signed up for like the 5K plan, which it's an 8 week plan. I jumped in like week 6. So whatever, here we go. Um, but it's cool because it just tells me what to do, and I just go do it. And so tomorrow, yeah, I have a 30-minute interval run, which it looks pretty intense. But that's what I'll be doing tomorrow for my workout. And then I'm going to do some deadlifts before that. Thank you. Yeah, so comment, bravo, good for you. I'm not there yet. LOL. Thank you. Yes. So, like I mentioned, I spoke earlier this week about setting yourself up for small wins as well as big wins. And the reason is because sidebar, main bar, when you are, in the process of doing all these, big, like grandiose goals, like that's great. We love a big dream and that motivation, inspiration, and that like vision, like that's awesome. But at the same time, if they are all big goals, then it is something where it's like, shit, like that's a lot. Like it's really defeating if you just keep trying to go for this big goal and keep getting like, knocked back down. And we're doing like, miming now, or charades. So setting myself up for small strategic wins, for me being a 5K, is something that I'm doing to remind myself, oh, right, you can do these things. This is incorporating the broaden and build theory from positive psychology, the research of Dr. Barbara Fredrickson, which states that whenever you achieve something and whenever you experience like good feelings and like the feel good like chemicals and like feelings are created and happening, then that actually provides you with the opportunity to broaden your horizons, right? To think about like, hey, if I can do this thing, if I can do a 5K, well, then what else is possible, right? And so it starts to broaden your horizons, the power of curiosity. What else is possible in that way? This is what I was saying, like when I started trying to think about not how can my body look, but like how fast can I go? How much weight can I lift? That's when the changes started to happen. And so that was essentially the broaden and build theory in effect. And so with these 5Ks, then, it's reminding myself like, yes, you can do this thing, and to build upon what worked, right? To build upon like those characteristics and those experiences that worked, and to continue to advance and like grow as a person in that way. And so 5Ks for me is a small sustainable win, because it's not something that's like so grandiose. I'm really going to have to stretch myself, but at the same time, it is going to make me uncomfortable. Like I don't necessarily enjoy it. And by I don't necessarily enjoy it, I don't enjoy it. The app makes it better. The Nike Run app, again, Jehovah's Witness for the app. Like it is so good. Like anyway, but that to me is a small sustainable win. And I'm bringing this up because yes, you said like I'm not there yet, and that everyone's different. So my 5K might be someone's mile, right? Or my 5K might be someone's 400 meters. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it is achievable for you, but a little uncomfortable. And we can, applying this to fitness and running, but we can apply this to anything, whether that be, reading a book to, fuck, I'm like hitting things now. I'm getting really, really, really into this. So yeah, it can be anything. So I just wanted to point that out because yeah, small for me is not like small for everyone, and someone else's small might be like huge for me. And I mean, it is like, right, like we're all different, like you said, we're all on our own journey. And so yeah, and so you had said, you're right, there's power in surrender. I remember life getting better when I learned to say fuck it, yes, yes. Another thing that I'm adopting into this year is, if it's not a hell yes, it is a fuck no, capital FUCK. I appreciate the censoring, but like, no, wait till you see this playlist that I'm going to be sending in the workbook. Yeah. So, okay, cool. Well, this has been so fun. I'm glad that it was just us, because I feel like we got to go off roading a little bit on some detours, but also related, because that's what wanted to talk about, and this is your space. And so I'm glad that you took it. Thank you. Yeah, I too am surprised more people didn't show up, but yeah, like it is what it is. I am, a believer, like meant to be. And so I had a lot of fun. I had asked in the beginning to kind of rate, scale of 1 to 10, like how you were feeling. And then we did it whenever you had popped on for the power poses. But I wanted to also ask, like, one of my goals for this was that you leave feeling better. And so, how are you feeling now? And also, oh, how do you stay in contact with me? So whichever works for you. I can't via Eventbrite send you the same email for the replay. So if you want, I can, you can message me your email. We're the only ones in here. I'm not going to share this chat with anyone, but I can message you like with the full enchilada of the email that I have prepared for the replay. And I can, yeah, put you on the newsletter, or you can, um, Instagram, Facebook, whatever works for you. Oh, thank you for letting me know that. So you definitely do feel better. And yeah, that's a very beautiful message. Thank you. Yeah. So I just got chills, but if it feels safe to do so, and I also talk about like a self-regulation toolkit. And so if you want, I can like send you some resources on like how to make your self-regulation toolkit, because one of the things as well when we are doing this work and looking at ourselves is that it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable as fuck. And that's why a lot of people just don't do it, right? Because our bodies were made to avoid discomfort. And so, when that is the case, and when we know that like it's uncomfortable, I don't want to do things that are uncomfortable, and that's my body doing its job, how are we ever supposed to grow? And so when I first start working with clients, and even sometimes I offer it like to other people as well, offer something known as your self-regulation toolkit. So like, what are the things that you need in moments of discomfort to bring you back, to equilibrium? And so that can look like, when you're sad, that can look like, when you just need a reminder of how awesome you are. That can look like if you're starting to feel, anxiety, if you're starting to go down to like a shame spiral. Different situations for different people, but figuring out what the things you are that you need in that moment, to help bring you back to baseline. And so if you want, I can send you that as well. But let me send some links here. Okay, perfect. And I'm Hey Johnna Renée on Instagram, so I will follow you. And then shoot me your email if you want, and I'll send you the self-regulation toolkit. I'll send you the link to as well for the workbook. Okay, cool, perfect. And then we'll stay in touch that way. So I'm glad you're feeling better. Thank you for showing up and for coming and for asking questions and engaging. For what? There's no need to apologize. What are you apologizing for? Oh, that one. Okay, cool, perfect. Okay, so I'll email you that. It'll be coming your way tomorrow morning around 8 a.m. Eastern-ish is whenever I have everything set to like go. So you'll be getting that then. And well, this is what I had. Thank you. my grand thank you. And then how to keep in touch. So Hey Johnna Renée on Instagram and on TikTok. And then johnrenee.com, like she needs some work, so don't go there. But I will email you, like I said, the replay of this, so you'll get the link to that. And you will also, it'll be a link that will then take you to see ADHD. I also mentioned, I think I'm confident I'm self-diagnosed ADHD, but I will send you the link to the recording, and it'll be a link to a Google Drive. Like, I'm going to put this in Google Drive, and then I'll send you your link to the workbook. That is cool, right? Like, ADHD, it's cool now. It's cool now. And yes, we are way smarter. I listened to a podcast one time that said that the theory, see, sidebar, main bar, the theory, one of the theories is that whenever we were back in like the hunter-gatherer times, that people who have, a predisposition for ADHD were the hunters. Because when you think about it, while yes, like we're singular focused on like our job is to hunt, if our job is to hunt and we see a rabbit, and like that's what we're going for, if all of a sudden a deer goes by, then we need to be able to pivot and start focusing on that. So we need to be able to have a fast pivot and then to focus on that. And I was like, oh, we like this, versus people who were like, getting the berries, like they're just about the berries. Well, we need to do problem solving like in the moment and pivoting and that kind of a thing. And so I was like, we like that. We like that. So maybe we were hunters together in another day and age. But I think this is all good stuff. Like, That's hilarious. We do get so distracted, but yeah, it's not a bad thing. Yeah. When I was trying to make this presentation, it was a bad thing. But no, I'm just kidding. I mean, kind of. But yeah, like I think it keeps things entertaining. And what a cool story, right? Like, what if we were hunters? Like, I think that's badass. But anyway, so thank you again. That was really loud. I scared my dog. I hope that that speaker didn't work so great on that clap. But yeah, thank you again. Definitely please do stay in touch. I will be sending you, like I said, the replay. I'll send you as well. I'll just send you the link to the workbook that has like your notes in it, um, the live notes in it. And then, yeah, keep in touch. I'll see you on the screens. I'm going to follow you on Instagram now. And yeah, thank you. I hope you have an awesome night. If you need anything, thank you, you too. If you need anything, definitely do let me know because now you're going to have my email. And then also, yeah, you're going to have my Instagram. So yeah, just let me know what you need and I'm here. And safe travels. Have a happy move because moving sucks. It does. But yeah, I hope yours goes well. Yeah, I hope yours goes well. I was like, I was about to go to another tangent about whenever I moved here. I will say, Johnna didn't have a moving company until like a week before she was supposed to move. Don't do that. Don't do that. Get one now. If you have not already started getting that in order. Because yeah, that's just a sidebar, but good life advice. Like, don't wait until a week before you move to find movers. So anyway, thank you again. I hope you have an awesome night. Oh God. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, it's not cheap. It's not cheap. Yeah. I would offer um the company I use, but also like God, reading the reviews, it's like a shot in the dark. Like some of them are like they ruined my life, and others were like it was great. All my stuff made it, nothing was broken. So yeah, I yeah, I just good luck. Good luck. Um, and yeah, keep me posted. Like I said, let me know whatever you need, and I can't wait to talk to you again. All right, awesome. Have a wonderful evening. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Bye. And thank you again so much for showing up. Bye.